Obviously, I'm sabotaged. This video is important, and I did some sort of explanations that were pretty close to demonstrations in my extremely sabotaged shape that I'm in. So, if the background noise from the rain is bothering you, I suggest you turn down the volume so that you can hear me more and less of that background noise. All right, so this video is about obvious reasons that I am the top martial artist. I consider these reasons obvious, and pretty much all of them not up for debate. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. In terms of arithmetic, what is your viable counterargument? I consider this just as obvious as that. So first of all, we'll look at disqualification. When you accept that cheating disqualifies somebody, right? If I come from a long line of people who were slave owners, and then I say I'm the smartest person in the world because I'm the richest person and I have tons of old money, I'm disqualified from that. And so it is in martial arts with a path of wisdom. The wise man doesn't seek to leverage the ill-gotten gains from shunning what in Egypt would call the Ka, the spirit of African people. Especially because Africa is the source, and this is the first place we should look for the top martial artist, where people all come from, the most, what I would describe as the most spiritually inclined, physically inclined, and the smartest people when it comes to forms of intelligence other than Western science and the IQ test, which is not testing natural intelligence, which basically is martial arts in its nature form, which has been the kind of natural intelligence test for hundreds of thousands of years. This is, one day they just switched to unnatural science and the scientific method and Western education. It's like everyone's been running for thousands of years, for example, and all of a sudden we switch to wrestling. Obviously, it's not fair. It's not a fair way to judge intelligence. They don't even acknowledge there's various forms of intelligence. They don't acknowledge the insufficiencies and the biases and the inherent flaws in the IQ test. Martial artists are supposed to be more honorable and insightful than scientists. So to miss these things is extremely disgraceful and extremely pathetic. And this is also why I wouldn't consider anyone else a true martial artist at this time. We'll get into that if we have time. So first of all, let's consider the disqualification. It's right there in the word, right? If you reject the idea of that there's wordplay, right? Point being in top and scrambled, you think that's not correct, it's not connected. Or part being trapped backwards, you think it's not connected. Or evil being lived backwards after colonialism and colonial evils and the continuity of rape and organized rape and cultural norms that reinforce misconceptions and the psychological construct that reinforce rapes. If you reject all these ideas because you're a complete idiot, you're a self-deluded, just what I would consider to be truly a misogynist. A misogynist is someone who hates women so much they're going to pretend that the psychological construct isn't there to trick women into sex. That's part of what I would consider to be a misogynist. All right, so if you're that much of an idiot, let's just put it this way, okay? In the word disqualification, for whatever reason, at the last part of it, we get if, I, ka, shun. For whatever reason, that is there. Now, what does this tell us? Obviously, I'm talking this way for a reason, because I'm drugged and fumed, and it changes my speech patterns, and I'm trying to talk in a way that people would consider easy to absorb and understand. Disqualification, if I ka shun, if you shun the spirit, and the spirit is the ka is an African word of African martial artists, you're disqualified. If your argument begins with, my system is the best and does not include, we've been shunning African martial arts, for hundreds of years, as long as anyone can remember, you're automatically disqualified. If you take advantage of the psychological construct, which by default is ka shunning, okay, this is why I'm sabotaged with 19 witnesses on record, because African and martial arts are unofficially banned. Even capoeira is called a Brazilian art and not an African art, when everyone with any brain who's done any research into it knows it comes from Africa, Angola, etc. Okay? So if you ka shun, if you don't first say, hey, my system is not as good as you think it is, because we've been shunning those black guys for as long as anyone can remember, they've been sabotaged, they've been enslaved. Any ones that rose up in a true martial art hero spirit, they were killed, okay, fighting for honor. The history of African martial art traditions and the transatlantic slave trade, something like this, starts to cover this thing. Zumbi from Palmeiras, right? Over there in South America, Brazil, okay? It doesn't take a genius to see if you benefit from that, you're dishonorable. And it's a form of cheating. So if you're cheating in this way, you're disqualified. Even cheating is a play on words for teach, tech, and cheat. All right? So kind of lay down the foundation. These people are already arguing from a point of view of being disqualified, from a position of being disqualified, cheating, and benefiting from the sabotage of black people. And I'm a Royal African Martial Arts King. Igbo backwards is Obi. Kuro Obi, black belt, a sign of rank on the cross section of the body, for goodness sake. Abbas, Obi, Igbo are connected. Abbas meaning father, patriarchal line. The woman's pussy power cannot derive the king. Only the patriarchal line, from father to son. The sword is even a phallic symbol. So is the spear, for goodness sake. Spirit and spirit. Okay? So they're disqualified. I'm not. Because my royal line had already established its martial arts supremacy over the entire world through Egypt. Har-O-Ares. Ares. Eri being the Egyptian sky god coming down from the sky. Horus, a sky god. The Kwa people, which the Igbos at one point were considered a member of this grouping, okay? And that's more significant than how they sliced it now, especially with their revisionist mentality. Kwa, backwards is Ak, the H is the fence, Hawk. Hawk, falcon. Horus, falcon god. The heart is the seat of intelligence in Egyptian. It was a martial arts society. Look at the Narmer palette. Tatib, it's a martial arts society, the stick-fighting priests of Osiris, and so on and so forth. It wasn't even limited to the war god Horus. It was in other cults and temples as well. Pretty straightforward. Horus is the archetype of the master martial arts style, the ideal man, and a pharaoh. Pharaoh, the fair reproductive cycle. If you sabotage people relative to reproduction, and you won't even admit that you've done that, you won't even admit, African martial arts exist, much less that they've been suppressed, you are disqualified. So for all intents and purposes, everyone else is disqualified until they come at it from truth. In the psychological construct, they're making their claims. Until they come in reality, morality, more reality, nature, supernature. You can't get to the essence of nature through the psychological construct, only through truth. And you can't avoid morality because it affects mental clarity and one's ability to be wise. Wisdom is also a part of martial. In fact, martial is marital scramble, martial in order to arrange. How can you ignore these things? If you ignore these things, you're not even talking about martial arts, you're talking about sports fighting or some garbage like that. That's part of where the confusion comes in. Set a deity of confusion, and they use set positions. So before I even got to my first official point, really, this is just the intro, I've already overkilled my point. Flying over, going up, sky god, sky law king, sky law core, skywalker, skywalking rather. All right, of course it's sky wall is walk, because they don't want you to see the footwork application, the Zulu walk, the falcon walk, the Igbo variations of footwork. Okay. So, again, this is obvious reasons I'm the top martial arts and the last true martial arts. So let's get to point one. Any disagreements in the intro, put intro. You said this in the intro, okay, because I can't review my own videos because it causes me damage, frequencies or so. I don't know what it is, but whenever I watch the videos, I hear ringing in my ears, blurred vision, you name it. So I can't even do that, okay? So say this is what you said at this point. Hopefully I'll still have this paper with the points on it, and I'll say, okay, this is why I said this. This is why you're wrong if you disagree, and I assure you, you'll be wrong if you disagree. So it's basically wisdom, being focused on a cause, okay, as wisdom. Not denial and propaganda, right-wing denial, mainstream liberal denial of the importance of African masculinity, and not the circus acts, which everyone else is basically part of a circus act as they're being led, this leading to my first point, by Gaia. My first point that some of you might disagree with initially, but certainly by the time this video is over, you'd be an idiot not to agree with, is that Gaia is the energy of everyone else on the planet. It is the Gaia. It is a trickle-down energy of the scientists and the old money people, the governing class, which includes scientists like Bill Gates, social scientists, marketing scientists, if you will, Bezos, and so on and so forth, okay? The trickle-down Gaia energy, these are Gaia. Instead of these guys choosing the warrior path, they chose to do something more like women in an energy that's more like the moon, which is a female energy. This goes back to thought, a deity of science and moon. Khonsu, the Khan, a deity of the moon, and a more moon-like feminine energy. This goes back to Yah, which was also a moon god in Egypt, and not just what people refer to as the God of the Bible, which also shows you Bible is more than just wordplay, as they look up to a moon deity and not the one true God. Gaia, Gaia, earth energy, the wig-wearing colonialists and the Americans, the founding fathers and so on, right? They basically were scientists, craftsmen, nerds, shooting muskets and balancing it in a kind of moon energy, like balance the musket, boom, instead of focused moral intensity. These guys do not create martial art lines. They're not the continuity of focused moral intensity. They're the continuity of being calm and relaxed and thinking in a moon temple state of mind. The bull, because of his horns, is shaped like the crescent moon, is also associated with the moon. So the ball is also associated with the moon. So these guys are like, your gym coaches in high school with a whistle around their neck. So this is how you do this, right? And this is American martial arts in a nutshell. They reject focused moral intensity in its true form. They only deal in propaganda. They reject moral, romantic, and mental clarity and precision as they deal in propaganda, psychological construct, and a cultural imperialist insistence on Western culture. Point number 2. And Gaia, remember, it's Gaia. It doesn't matter if you're a cowboy who's acting a little bit goofy or a more serious cowboy. When you don't man up and you focus on the earth and not insisting on walking a path of righteousness, as the Bible would say, to the source of righteousness, the way, the truth, and the life. The way to righteousness, true love, grace, the moral warrior spirit is through truth. The martial artist can't lie to himself. Someone in first grade can't say, I'm the top martial artist, and go challenge me with a sword. Because if I do take him seriously, I'm going to kill him. And he'll have died because he lied to himself. Sensitivity to injustice is another part of it. It has to do with truth. I say, hey, I have to win. My cause is greater. I have to win. I come from a long line of top martial artists. I can't let them down. So when he strikes, I said, the injustice of this person winning is too great to bear, and I'm sensitive to it, and I'm focused like a falcon. That's a part of it, and it has to do with truth. Truth, justice are connected. Without these things, you can't have love. So it's the heart is the seat of intelligence. How are you going to have heart if you don't have truth and justice? You have no love in your heart. You have a corrupt heart, a dark heart, a black heart, a cold heart, hearts that don't allow for mental clarity. I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm saying, whether you put on a thong and pretend I'm wrong. Thong, ironically, rhymes with wrong. So does strong. Think about that. Why is that? Because Gaia is wrong. Bulky, a big, ball, a big, bulky, earth-like shape is wrong. Number 2, terrain. Okay? Reign, ironically, the reign of the king, and terrain. Rain being a symbol to the ancient people of God impregnating the earth, and here comes the life forms, the plants, and so on that come as a result. Terrain, skywalking, footwork. I came across something on the internet that said footwork wins fights. Footwork. Think about basketball, for example. The craftsman shape. So naturally, the system is designed so that if someone like me tries to play basketball, I'll be good for a long time. But it's really designed for a craftsman shape, which causes a certain steadiness of hand when doing this shooting motion. Not a surgical a stabbing motion, okay, but a shooting motion. Okay, you see my hands, my arm, the way it faces my forearm, everything together, right? It's an inferior basketball form. Basketball sports with a T. The T is the feminine suffix like cat and bat versus ba and ka, soul and spirit. The T is the feminine suffix. I can just put it on the screen. All right. Also the plus, the cross. Destroying the cross is destroying the feminine suffix. Jesus, G says, G the earth deity. Another name for Gaia. Ki and G. Ki energy, G energy, chi energy as used by them versus the C high, the energy of my body when it comes into contact with the Spirit of God. So their cause and their driving force is inferior. They're at a great disadvantage. And it's as obvious as saying, hey, the cheetah, obvious reasons that the cheetah is faster than the snail, or the cheetah is faster than the cat, or the cheetah is faster than the pig. Okay, God speed, light contact. Number 3, betrayal and portrayal. Betrayal, be the path, okay? They're betraying because they're presenting that they're the path while suppressing the actual path when Horus was in a way that there's no viable counter argument for, was established as the archetype of Pharaoh. Plus portrayal. The poor. Who's poorer than black people and they're slaves and Nigerians living on $2 a month or something and so on and so forth, right? Misrepresent. Going back to Gaia. Misrepresent. Misguide. Mislead. This is more than just wordplay. When I say it, it should trigger your brain in a way that so you picture the reality of it. The reality that you have been misled by wig-wearing people and the people that refuse to man up and accept responsibility for their forefathers' crimes, who come up with all kinds of fabricated evidence and all kinds of things that everyone sees through. It's like they're politicians. The wig-wearing guys, the politicians, they're liars, and they're upholding white supremacy. And every culture you see that is allowed has set the stage for them to be in charge. Principles. Prince I pull. Will, determination. All the martial art principles they're ignoring by not living in reality. Okay? They're at a great disadvantage at every turn. They're not as disciplined. They're not as determined. Okay? They're not conveying as potent of a spirit. They're not feeling love. They're not feeling drive. They're not persevering in its true form. They're just kind of hanging out being, hi guys, we're allowed with a thong. It's that simple. Of course, that goes to, there's a great many martial art principles. The video itself, I don't want to go very much longer. It's not letting me upload the later videos. So let's just shoot through this and I'll have to get to the numbers. Basically the numbers of craftsmen, the numbers of traditional martial artists who don't do it on the proper terrain. They don't even do it outdoors and so on and so forth. The UFC fighters, they're not trained properly. Basketball players, street fighters, gang members, they're not trained properly to take on someone like me. Okay. In a nutshell, I'll have to do that in another video. So let's just shoot through this. Number 5, the benefit of doubt and honor. Breeding, tech, ill-gotten gains, sabotage. I kind of went over that in the intro. Number 6, cause and effect. The cop, for example, low mass, earth. My body is more up. You can kind of tell my body is more, it's more, it's more like a bird taking off, and they're more like taking you to the ground. And so they move slower and so on and so forth. Okay, body structure, figure it out, right? All right, and United States, states of mind. What state are you in? What's the state of mind? The state you're in. The state of mind of California is the most conducive to martial arts. I don't think it's coincidence Bruce Lee's here, and the Hollywood martial art actors, you come out here, if not live out here. All right, so, and of course, AKA gym 50 minutes away, and so on and so forth. Cause and effect. All right, so craftsman, brain surgeon, son, royal martial art family, Black Panther example, right? With the royal, the one-on-one, right? One on is Ayunu, Heliopolis, Ra is called Center, Ra is. The closest thing to a description of God I've come across is Ra, and of course, the descriptions they have are liberal twists. Basically, a bunch of gay guys kind of were arguing with the Egyptian masculine Africans for a long time, and eventually the West and all these other people, the Romans, the British, and these people colonized the world with their wigs, and the wigs is also what Yah, the followers of Yah would wear wigs, and they would portray Yah with a wig, and the moon temple, Gaia kind of stuff going on, kind of female energy, kind of witches, Sabbath, Hecate, Hebe, and all these Hera, all the waxing, the waning of the moon, and so on and so forth. Anyway, full moon, werewolf, right? The wolf, where's the wolf, right? They're fixated on the female, and they're even acting like bitches so they can get the pussy and screen people like me out and put them on crosses and so on and so forth. And cross is a symbol of the feminine suffix. Why did they crucify this guy? Really? Because they want to control the pussy. Okay. So this face us. Horror means face. Face us at the last logical moment. Anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt. 2012 to 2017 was pretty much the last possible moment anyone deserved the benefit of the doubt. Mind control was dramatic then, and it's extremely dramatic now. And I can go on about how your unconscious mind rules your behavior. We can talk about chips in the brain. We can talk about the neurosurgery magazine stuff that I showed in the other videos. Basically my dad's a brain surgeon. He gets these magazines to help him stay up to date and so on and so forth. And he's about to retire soon. So basically there's nothing they can say, well, he wasn't that great of a brain surgeon. Well, we come up with digging up this dirt. There's, who gets the benefit of the doubt, right? The corrupt fucking state, the Snowden and Assange persecuting trash, or the fucking black brain surgeon, son of 2 doctors, biracial guy from a long line of honorable martial artists. Obviously, there's not a fucking thing they can say. All I have to say is they're lying, and the sane person will say they're almost certainly lying, and he's almost certainly telling the truth. It's that dramatic of a difference. So when we look at I'm supposed to go over this shit. I'll just make another video.